Okay, we're live. All right. I'm going to put a little type in here. If anybody joins me here today, let me know if you can hear everything okay. Also, if you have any questions, this video obviously will be available after we've finished it. Let me type this in. And hopefully that's the case. So, a couple topics I wanted to talk about today. The title is accepting oneness as an individual, and the only reason I titled it that is because this is a this is a concept I think a lot of people struggle with. I mean, they don't always recognize that how they fit into the universe and how there's any kind of oneness when a lot of the people that you come in contact with you have almost the exact feeling about. You feel like, well, I don't really have anything in common with them. I don't really relate to them, or in some people you do. And why is there a difference, and how can we all be one, and how can everything in the universe be one when I'm a separate individual? And it seems like a complicated thing, but it really isn't. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. One of the things I think that's important is to realize that when you're on a spiritual path, and this is the same if you're studying science or math or anything else, your first tendency is going to be to assume that you can discern this stuff and understand this stuff with knowledge by accumulating more knowledge. I read this book and now I know this, and then I read that and now I know this. And unfortunately, in terms of discovering yourself and your oneness in the universe, it's not going to be done with all the brain stuff. And I know a lot of us have a lot of practice at that, particularly like the more intelligentsia of us all, you know, use their brains for everything. And instead of that being a benefit in terms of understanding your own spirituality and who you are in the universe, it's actually kind of a drawback because you're not going to stop until you understand it with your head. And because this knowledge of self is an intuitive knowledge, it's a deeper knowledge. It really doesn't have anything to do with the brain, which is why everybody's continually telling you, "Oh, stop thinking," or meditate, or slow down your thinking. They're trying to get you to sort of put that on pause for a while so you can just see what's there once you create some emptiness. It's the whole, full cup thing. You can't really pour any more in a cup that's full. You have to empty it out a little bit and see what's there. So this is the basis of this. And so because we're coming up onto the holidays, and I know sometimes you might be going and meeting with family or friends, people you haven't seen for a long time. And if you're an awakened individual, they may not know you as such. And of course, that presents a situation where um, once you get there, you are going to be thinking more in terms of how do I maintain who I am now rather than being drawn back into who these people think I am still, or who I was. And I know that's a hard conflict for a lot of people. And I think the number one thing with that is it's not your job or your mission to convince anybody that you've changed anything. That's really not going to be a benefit to you. What it is your mission to do is maintain yourself, understand that people have these views and they don't need to affect you, and be who you really are as much as you can in that situation. Um, you know, this is this is difficult enough with strangers, but with family and friends, it's even sometimes more difficult. I wanted to talk in depth a little bit about this oneness idea. There's probably people that that you've met in your life who you go, man, I totally don't like that person. I get a bad vibe from them, or boy, they're just all about their own ego, or you get a sense to where they're at. And instead of understanding that within yourself, you sort of push it aside, move on to the next person, or you know, you have to understand that everybody in this lifetime starts out with this sort of dark veil, and it's an understanding uh, that everybody has this. Think of it as like sort of a black piece of cardboard, and you walk through life and you're holding this thing up and you can't see a damn thing through it. You can learn things, you can hear things, you can experience things, you can have traumas, all this stuff, but you can't see through it because this is what represents, who you are. Then all of a sudden something happens in your life. Sometimes it's trauma, sometimes it's a passage in a book, sometimes it's just looking at something in nature and a little light beam comes in. There's a hole now in this thing. What is that? Why do what's going on there? So, you know, the whole idea is that you start searching and poking holes, and the next thing you know, you stand back and kind of see through this black thing. It's your veil that you're trying to wipe out. Now, if everybody on the planet has this veil, you have to understand that if we all removed it, like all at once, it just dropped, and you could see who you really were and then see who everybody was, we'd all be the same. Okay. We'd all be exactly the same. So the people that you are coming in contact with are still behind that veil. And there's varying levels. Obviously, when you first awaken, you see some things. And then as you awaken more, the veil becomes lifted a little bit more. And the next thing you know, it drops down. And you can see and understand who you are in the universe and who everybody else is. So even though this person and their personality does not appear to be someone that you unify with, in fact, they're just in varying degrees of the veil. So now you go to Christmas, you see friends and family, and they're all going to be in varying degrees of that veil. Is it your job to try to poke holes in it and lift it for them and make it pleasant for you by trying to make them awaken a little bit more? No, that's not going to be your job. That's not going to be your job. Your job is to be who you are and be yourself in those situations, and um, allow them to see who you really are. You don't want to pretend and go, well, they want me to be this person I was 10 years ago, so I'll just go there and be that. I don't recommend that, because you have made a life change. You are changing. You are growing. You are not the same person you were even yesterday. And there's no sense pretending that you are. And at the same time, they need to be who they are at this time. Everybody has a timeline. Their veil is going to be lifted in their own time. Thank you, sir. Good vibrations to you, too. Um, so, I guess my point of it is that once you recognize that everybody starts out with a sort of dark cloud over their eyes and they lift it at varying different times, you recognize you see somebody who seems to be completely blacked out as to what's going on. You don't have animosity toward them. If anything, you have compassion. And if anything, you want to shed light and you want to try to be as kind and understanding as you possibly can, regardless of how they're behaving. Because you don't know, but that could be the one thing that pokes that little hole in that dark cloud for them. Lets them know that, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. They're not reacting the way that I expected them to, and now I can't get mad anymore. I can't, life is unexpected. Speaking of unexpected, I did, as you know, on my YouTube channel, I have a lot of videos, and these videos are all edited, pre-planned. I scripted them out. Sometimes I put little clips in them, and very meticulously put together. And I haven't done one of those for some time because I feel like what was missing in that was the interaction from you guys. Um, and I know that live stream's hard because everybody's busy doing stuff and you're not necessarily going to be on that live stream. But I do know that as people watch it later, they do see it and they do hear, and then they can look for it. I want to encourage you guys, if you like these live broadcasts, you want to be more interactive and you want to participate in this, because that's what I'm really going for. I pick a topic because YouTube requires that you have a topic. I don't need to pick a topic. What I want to talk about is what concerns you and some of the issues that you're dealing with. And so that's why I think live's a good idea, but it's going to take a little time to build. I think this is only like my third or fourth live. So I want to encourage you. I put a link in the description box there that has my link tree. And on my link tree is all my various things you can go visit, and one of them is a mailing list. If you sign up for that mailing list, every time I do a live video broadcast, I send the link, and then you can hop on the link when you have a chance to do so. But it's a good way to get to know. Also, if you're a subscriber and you click the bell button, I think that also alerts you that, hey, Path of Ascension is going to have an upcoming live coming on. So that might help. So just a reminder of those things, because I really would like to build this into something that where it's not just about what I want to talk about, but it's, what concerns you guys at any given moment. So just want to put that out there for you. So, couple other things. I know, and I had mentioned a little early on how, people, when they first attempt to understand spiritual life, they very much want to understand it from here, and they very much like think about it. And you get questions that um, that are unexpected. Like, I know I heard somebody ask a question once. They said, "Well, if you're awakened and you experience, complete freedom in your life, and you understand that, this is emptiness, and you can do whatever you want, why wouldn't I just go out and shoot somebody?" And I think that's a real indicative question of people who are searching for truth and answers from here. Because if you do ever have a glimpse, even just a little glimpse of what it is, who it is that you are, and what it is inside you without all the ego and all the thinking, you recognize that that's like the last place you would go. That's the last thing you would think. You would be a peaceful person. You would be a creative person. You would want nothing but wonderful things for everyone. And that, because that's where that is. So your experience of complete freedom is not freedom to wreak havoc. It actually turns out, because we are all one, that is the place we all go. That is the divinity within us that encourages us to do the creative, beautiful things for each other, and it's all about love. So the question is a mind question. The answer is an intuitive understanding question. And you have to get past all the head stuff, if you want to get to that point where you can glimpse and understand that. I hope that makes some sense. Um, so this was on my list of things to talk about today. So let me ask you guys any questions or any things that you guys would like to bat around for a while. You can type it up there. I can see when you type there, and I can respond. And I hope you see that. Spiritual book. Yeah, you know what? Last week, I think I mentioned three books that I thought were really useful. And a favorite, that's hard, because at different times in your life, you get different things out of different books. But out of the three books, I mentioned three books. One was Osho's book, Roots and Wings. He was, at the time, was Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, controversial figure, and he wrote a book called Roots and Wings, about this thick of a book. And I was just getting into Zen at the time, and it was a mind blower for me. So that book was worth reading. Another older book, Leo Buscaglia, The Way of the Bull. I mean, it's a short book, but it is so powerful. It's a little travelogue that he did when he was traveling Southeast Asia, and amazing, just really moving, and really opened me up to a lot of ideas how we treat people that are nothing like us. That's a great book for that example. And of course, Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now, which, if you've read it, great. If you've read it recently, even better, because every time that you read that book, it opens some new stuff. It's just an amazing work. And I've read a lot of his stuff after that, but The Power of Now is definitely the foundation for understanding him. Write the name, yes, The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle. I spell that right. Way of the Bull by Leo Buscaglia. He's got there. You can still see some of his old videos on YouTube. He's long since passed away, but he's a very passionate Italian guy, and he's fun to watch. He wrote a book called Love. I don't know anybody else who wrote a book called just plain Love, but that's his deal. And what was the other one? Oh, Osho. That was Roots and Wings. Good stuff. Any books that you read recently, Gibran, that you think might be worth sharing? I do. I do remember that before the internet. I'm an old guy. Shoot, that's how I learned everything, was reading book after book. And now, I still read, but honestly, I have an audiobooks subscription, so mostly I listen. And if you get The Power of Now, Eckhart actually reads that book with a couple of his producers, and it's just thrilling to listen to. And a lot of people find listening a lot easier than just reading. You can do it while you're driving. The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. Why have I heard of that? I don't know who wrote that book, but thanks for putting it in the comments here, because these will show up later and people can check them out. Got you started spirituality. Sweet, sweet. Anything that gets you going is awesome. The problem is that it just you just end up craving more, and you just need to get deeper and deeper. And I think, oh, this is probably a good thing to talk about. I don't know if you guys ever watch other spiritual videos such as Ganga Ji, who always has had this saying like "stop searching," and I think it's confused a lot of people. And when I first heard it, I thought, well, what is she talking about? Our whole life is like a search. Um, I'll talk to that, sir. But the thing is with it is that what her point is, and I understand this now, is that by our just being, we are enough, and we are more than enough. And I think the harder we look for something, the more we take ourselves away from it, because we don't recognize that we're looking for something we already are. It's not a matter of, oh, I got to find this thing so I can be who I am. You already are who you are. You just have to get rid of all the other stuff that's pointing you away from it, like your ego, and like your conditions, and your self stories, and, oh, this always happens to me, and all the stuff that you put, your drama, let's say. Okay, if you're an author and you're writing a drama, consider that your life. You're writing your own drama. Keep in mind, you can create a bad story, you can create a good story. If everything in your life, the conflicts and the things that come to you, are looked at as a challenge and part of that awesome story that is you and your life, um, you're going to enjoy your book a lot more, and the chapters won't seem so tedious. Um, have you ever reached enlightenment through psychedelics, use of mushrooms, or DMT? No, but um, because of my age, I have experienced some time in the 60s and 70s where I used psychedelics, and certainly experienced some things through them. I think for a lot of people, that at the time was a cultural thing. It wasn't so strange to take LSD, or mushrooms was very common, mescaline, those types of hallucinogenics. And I think they do open you up to see things and notice things that you don't see in your daily life. Like I was able to actually see music come out of a speaker. These types of things change your perspective. If you need a shift of changing perspective, that is one way to do it. A deep, deep meditation is another way to do it. My only concern with any of those kinds of things, and this includes ayahuasca or any of these things that take you out of yourself, is that you understand that this is simply a glimpse. When we are not in our bodies anymore, sure, we're going to see colors that we don't see here, and we're going to experience, we're going to understand things that we don't understand here. bigger, no matter how big, how much of your brain you're using, there are things that you don't understand. Um, and I think it, in some ways, for some people, it's another way to look outside themselves to find something like, oh, well, I'm not there yet, but if I do this drug, I'm going to be there. Now, DMT can be produced naturally through chakra, meditations and opening your third eye, and this is like a natural high. But keep in mind, one of the problems when people really experience those very strong shifts is getting they also experience the downer afterwards, because like any drug, if it releases dopamine and makes you feel really good, once you come off of it, you're going to crave it again because you're going to be coming down. So if you're willing to accept that the up comes with the down, by all means. But if you're going to constantly do it to try to keep yourself up, you're just creating more trouble for yourself than it's worth. Because here again, it's not about always feeling happy and always feeling good. It's about understanding that it doesn't matter what goes on in your life. It doesn't change who you are. Um, Also take care of my mental. Well, and that's a good point. The gentleman here, and I can't pronounce your name. It looks Russian to me, but I learned how he was talking about psychedelics. I learned how not to just hear music but feel it, and it also take care of my mental and physical body. Now, if you if you get things from something, if you learn something, um, great. I mean, I think if it helps you, yeah, fine. Just like anything else that is external, use with caution. You should put that on the label. Use with caution, because everything that you really need, you have within yourself. And I know our journey is not always easy, and there's times, I'm working 6 days a week right now, which is why I can't do as many videos as I would like to do. Um, and I know life gets busy, and it's hard to not have time to really delve into your spiritual self. But if you keep in mind that, because you wake up fresh and new every day, and I don't know about you guys, I sit for a half hour and just meditate and just get quiet. It doesn't have to be a formal meditation. I just sit and get quiet. um, and it sets the tone for the day for me. And then it doesn't matter how busy I am, what I'm doing at work, what I'm doing here, what I'm doing there. I try to keep that center, and that way you're not like, oh, I got to let it go today because I got to go to work. You're just taking that with you. Everybody you come in contact with then experiences that as well. One thing I think we don't realize is that, you ever meet somebody and they're having a bad day, or they've already deemed it a bad day, and they're kind of edgy to be around. It's not always, nice to be around them. And I think we don't always realize that it's not just our moods, and it's not just how we respond that affects us. It affects everybody else around us. It might even affect somebody you call on the phone at the help desk. I mean, you're spreading this thing around. So you're going to spread something. Let's, spread some good news or something. Um, I'm trying to read some of these other comments. Awesome. So what else you guys want to talk about? I would love this. I'm really working on building a large mailing list, so people can actually send in topics and things that they want to talk about, and I can, I really would like to see that happen on this channel, instead of my own sort of myopic view. um, and I appreciate you guys tuning in here. I don't know how you found it or just happened across it, but if you join the mailing list, you'll definitely hear about it. Attachment, bonding, and dependency are the root of all suffering. Well, ain't that the truth? Um, yeah, I think that's really true. And, you'll hear Eckhart Tolle talk a lot about that. Challenges come up, they're just challenges, but what makes you suffer is you're adding those things to your bucket of bad story, like, every time I try to do this, this happens, and you're adding it to the bucket. And, you know, uh, And dependency, that's another good point. You have to be careful. And here's the thing with drugs or anything that you're dependent on. I think a lot of people, as you become more aware of yourself and who you are, and you're sort of whittling away that ego self, you start to see those things and you start to say, okay, well, this is a dependency of mine. This is something I need to work on. This is something what you don't want to do is you don't want to resist. You don't want to go, shoot, I drink coffee every day. I really shouldn't drink that much coffee, and I don't know what's wrong with me. I have to have my coffee all. You know what? Let it go. You're drinking coffee, so drink coffee. If you get to the point where you feel you need to drink less, then drink less. But what you don't want to do is start building a thing where, well, I'm not perfect yet because I still drink this much coffee, or I have this bad habit that I haven't been able to kick yet, or I gained more weight this year than I wanted to. And you know, the funniest thing is there's a term for it now. People call it COVID weight, and I think I kind of like that because you stop blaming yourself for the things that go wrong and then that aren't going exactly the way that you want them to. Let's blame it on the pandemic. So 5-6 hours every day to learning Google and YouTube marketing. Okay, that's interesting. Good for you. Yeah, I think yeah, I don't know what your channel is and what you're doing with it, but if you want to leave a link in that box, we could visit it and check it out. Um, it's cool stuff. I think I use Google Ads, and a lot of you guys found me on Google Ads. I think they could make these things simpler than they need to be, but it's a great thing about technology. A lot of times I have questions about a lot of things, and if you just type in the specific question, usually you're going to find the answer somewhere on a YouTube video. YouTube's awesome that way. So, and spiritual, I mean, I don't know. I subscribe to probably maybe 30 or 40 different channels right now, and with bells on them. So when they come up, I can watch them. And I never was able to do that before. Reason why the channel grows is to learn marketing. Well, that works. Um, really think focusing on exposing your truth to a lot of people could be learning. Oh, no question, no question. And I think, um, the important thing is that I don't always um, come up with a good idea of something to cover on a video. So what I do is during the week when I have an idea or something strikes me, um, or I see something and it teaches me something, I'll jot it down. So later I'll just go back and think about the incident and regurgitate it in a video. Uh, but this is why I like live, because you don't really have to have a topic. You just have to have some people on there to interact with, and somebody's going to have something they want to talk about, which is kind of cool. So, well, listen, you guys, I got to wrap this up, but I really appreciate you being here. And if you want to leave your links in those comments, when this thing just stops, it'll still be up on the site, and any of our comments will also be viewable. I've set it up that way, and hopefully that'll work. So, um, read this last bit. Young people would benefit from listening to new ideas and, most importantly, real life experience. I agree. Um, and, for young people, I think they're a little bit more open to learning because that's all they've been doing their whole lives. I think for the older generation, kind of get a little set in your ways, and you really stick to these things you believe, and that just closes the door to any new information. I mean, even science has to keep the door open because it changes so frequently. You learn something new here, and it wipes out all the stuff you thought from before. We used to have a lot more planets than we have now. All right, you guys. Hey, thank you so much. Check out the link in my description box there. Let me know any topics that you want to cover. I'll probably do this again next week, 1 or 2 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. So, but if there's something that you want to cover, or you want to talk about, definitely drop me a line. Thanks again for joining me, you guys. Have an awesome now.